What was the?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember much of Albania.
Yeah.
What was the transition like? How did your life change from when you were in Albania to the U.S.?
It was really nice not to have to use squat toilets. That was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I saw my first porcelain toilet in America. It was incredible. Well, it's big. So Albania does a lot of those Turkish style like squat toilets. You know what I'm talking about? It's just a porcelain hole in the ground, and you just squat over it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because apparently we can't afford the seat. I don't know what it is, but that was a cool experience. But it's just like, it's a developing country, so it's just like, electricity. Yeah, we have roving blackouts. In Albania, it's still infrastructure is not that great. Roads aren't that great. Don't drink the tap water. It's not that safe, probably. Stuff like that. It's like it's nice to move to a place where I'm like, oh, the lights always work here. That's cool. Or the toilet always flushes, or the water is always pouring and it's not filthy most of the time. Cool. So it's nice to have that infrastructure and stuff like that here. But it was, like I said, I still go back all the time. Like I love Albania. It's a big part of me. I got it tattooed on my arm here.
Nice.
So it's a big part of my heritage, and I never forget that. But I always, I always consider myself, I'm not an Albanian, I'm not an American, I'm an Albanian American.
Yeah.
I embrace both sides of it. I think about where I'd be if we didn't win that lottery. Like if I was in Albania right now, and guaranteed I would not have gone to college. I would not have gotten the good jobs that I've had here in the States. I would not have the opportunities that I've had here. I would probably be working some sort of menial labor somewhere. A lot of my cousins out there struggle with tough jobs. So, it's the opportunities are more plentiful here. You get a lot better opportunities. Also, there's a huge, it's big in movies here too, because we're always the bad guys in movies, Albanians. I don't know if you ever noticed that. Like, we're the bad guys in Taken. We're the ones who are like, we'll take Liam Neeson's daughter. There's my cousin is a cop in Albania, and he's like, there's whole villages in Albania that are just run by the mafia, and cops don't go in there because the mafia has better weapons than the cops do.
Oh, yeah,
and so they're like, you guys can just have that town. We won't go in there. That's your city, or that's your town. That's I'm sure I would have had a rough upbringing if I grew up out there. But
that's what poverty creates.
Exactly.
I grew up poor too. I actually understand the toilet. That we had believe it or not, we had an outhouse when I was a kid.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
So we didn't have plumbing until I was 8.
Mm.
Yeah, so I understand.
It's a wonderful experience to sit down for the first time in a nice porcelain toilet. I'll never forget that day. I also thought it was funny. I mean, like, when your family tells you you're moving to New York, because that's what my parents like, oh, we're moving to New York. I'm thinking the city.
Yeah.
And I always have this, I always tell people, this is the story of, the day we got here. It was May 6, 1996. We landed in Newark Liberty Airport. We could see the lights of New York City in the distance. But it was 3 a.m. when we landed. So I'm sleeping in my dad's arms as we're going through customs and stuff. And I just remember being put in the back of a car. And then we're driving up to upstate New York, to where we're going to live. And I just remember, waking up as the sun is rising. And I look outside, and all I see is, empty abandoned factory, gun store, like cars in the lawns, cars on cinder blocks, abandoned factory. I'm like, did they send us back to Eastern Europe? I don't know what happened. I thought we were going to New York. I don't know where we are right now. My parents were like, no, we're going to deep New York. We're in New York State. And I was like, oh, okay. This is funny because we were, the county I grew up in is the poorest county in New York State.
Oh.
So it's almost like I moved into the Eastern Europe of New York State, which is great.
Right.
Really nice transition. Not to say anything bad about it. I loved my upbringing there, but it's it was a struggling county where a lot of businesses and factories had disappeared through the years.
The 90s, mid-90s. They were
rough for New York State.
Yeah, well, all the small towns across the country.
Yeah.
Even where I grew up, it was, the economy was booming in the small town I lived in as a kid until the 90s. And then between probably 92 and 2000,
devastating.
90% of the businesses left. Mm-hmm. Like the higher paying manufacturing businesses. They all went to China and Mexico and other countries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A lot of stuff got mechanized, so a lot of jobs just basically became obsolete.
That's when the heroin and meth moved in.
It's huge drug problems in that area, which is tough. But
no opportunities. It's not the people. People are fine. It's just you take the opportunities away from people. they're miserable. Everybody's sad and depressed. They have to try to find an escape. And it turns out,
I always tell people that there's not a lot of differences between, you know, poor people in the city and poor people in, you know, small town America. They've gone through the same cycles of, like, you know, unavailability of jobs or low paying jobs and then drugs coming in. Like, it's the same. Like, you go to my county in where I grew up, it's like they had the same shitty experiences as people growing up in tough parts of New York City, where it's like, you know, jobs left or things became tough, drugs came in, a lot of people got hooked on drugs, a lot of crime upticked, and now you're getting it's like upstate New York is, because I visited like last fall to see some friends, and they're going through almost the gentrification process because, like, hipsters from New York are moving to upstate New York because land is cheaper and they can work remote. And so I went back there, and there's like breweries and like artists lofts and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, that's
good.
It's changing. It's good. It's good for business, but it's like
we still need to help people in poverty, though.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing, is like I hopefully that's trickling to other people. You know, like, because having a rich software engineer hipster from Brooklyn moving up to buy a piece of land in upstate New York doesn't directly help somebody, but hopefully it creates other opportunities. You know,
helps supercharge the economy, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.